She did the hard work of figuring that out, and the very first one has returned 70% ROI, and it's pretty exciting to watch. Now, couple that with the fact she's been watching me hand over cars to a Turo operator and make on average $400 to $500 a month per vehicle. She's like, "Well, wait a minute, Dad, we got all the money back on the website. Could I then buy a couple Turo cars?"
This podcast is for informational purposes only and does not constitute financial, legal, or investment advice. Please consult a professional advisor before making decisions based on what you hear on this show.
Welcome into the Financial Freedom Roundtable. I'm Russ Morgan. I'm going to be one of your hosts today, along with the Italian Stallion, Mr. Joey Murray. Stallion, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Russ. So excited about this topic today.
Yeah, we're going to be breaking down 3 ways you can make your kid a multi-millionaire. And here's the thing is that most people are like, what? That can't happen. I'm not even a multi-millionaire. How's my kid going to become a multi-millionaire? Stallion, why is this so important for us to be covered?
Exactly the point of today's podcast. You cannot pass down what you haven't practiced, right? Wealth transfer isn't about dollars going from your hands to theirs. It's about passing down skills, mindsets, systems. Like we talk about the passive income operating system on the show till we're blue in the face. Not because we love systems, but because the system is necessary to make this all come together. I think we make a massive mistake in this world by thinking that we can just have these silo effects of my money, ongoing their money, and we just keep stacking it up and hope there's a little something left over at the end that we can pass down with no instructions. Today, we're going to break down how you can not only do the dollars in the cents, but you can pass down the sense of how you made it to begin with. And so that's what's super important.
How many summers do you have left with your kids? 10, maybe less?
And are you spending them together, or are you still stuck in the office while time slips by?
You want freedom. That's not the problem. The problem is you don't have a system that buys back your time. Without it, 3 years from now, your kids will be older and they won't care that your business was more successful. They'll remember you weren't there.
That's why we built the passive income operating system, the plan we use to create over $50,000 a month in passive income. The system isn't free, but the training that shows you how it works is, and it's under an hour.
Go to wealthwithoutwallstreet.com/PIOS. Take the first step to buying back your time now. They said 70% of generational wealth is gone by the second generation and then 90% by the third. So the idea of set it, forget it, we have to dismiss that. We have to talk about how do we help parents master this passive income operating system and start teaching their kids. But like you said, Joey, you have to own it first.
Yes.
Thankfully, we're not doing this alone. We're surrounded by the dream team of financial coaches. I got a returning guest here, Mr. Chad Faso, the king of vending. What's up, my man? How are you today, Chad?
What is up, Russ? Pleasure to be here, man. Honored. Happy to share some insight on vending and ways to make your kid a multimillionaire.
I want to talk a little bit about this. So why, vending from your perspective, is that the strategy that you're going to start trying to teach your young children? I know your oldest is only 4, so like we're thinking into the future here, right? Like we brought on the young bucks to help us like cast that vision. Is that the path that you're going to pass down to the children or something else?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, even just what you and Joey briefly talked about, but I believe in teaching to fish, right? I don't want to keep giving my kids stuff, but with that being said, I take my 4-year-old stalking with me. He's my best operator, man. He runs off Cheez-Its. Um, and with that being said, I want him to know that hard work goes into stuff. We're not just handed stuff in life. Um, And then my goal is obviously when they're old enough to start taking on some locations, that each of my boys will start taking on their own locations, running it, but they will be paid hourly first. They will not just get handed free money.
Well, we got a first timer to the podcast. Mr. Colton McGriff's going to come in bringing some heat. Good to see you, my man. Colton, welcome to the show.
Yeah, I appreciate it, Russ. Good to be here.
Yeah. You
Yeah,
you
honestly,
you've yeah, you've learned a lot, over the years. I mean, you had a dad in the financial industry, similar to Chad, and obviously have kinda gotten a leg up, if you will, on what money looks like. Talk a little bit about how that shaped the way that you're going to maybe teach your kids about money, and what's gonna be the pathway that you're going to try to pass down to get them to this multi-million-dollar status we're talking about today on the show.
Yeah, similar to Chad, I think teaching them how to catch the vision or catch the fish is more important than just like providing the ways. So I've been blessed with the opportunity to have the access to cash and through their own privatized banking. So that's the first leg up, and that's the one thing that we always hear somebody saying is, "I wish I knew about this sooner." So the thing that I'm passing down the most is that third generation's knowing or implementing it before they even know what they're implementing. So,
Yeah, well, a lot of pressure on your kids since you're the second generation of this money train, right? Unlike Joey and I, Chad, you and Colton, you guys had amazing fathers, parents who passed down knowledge, passed down wealth. Joey and I, we got a lot of good sayings. Most of those I can't say around kids and females, but we got them. So, we gotta we're gonna be Gen 1, so you lot of pressure on those kids of you guys, for Gen 3. Stallion, let's talk about, what you're planning to do, right? There's a lot of, we're on the other end of the spectrum with our kids, where Chad and Colton's kids are, brand new infants and up to 4 years old, right? Where we've got daughters 17, 18, 20 years old, a little bit, thinking about, some people take these dollars that they save up and they send their kids to college, but that hasn't been the strategy you've employed. Why? And tell me what you're trying to teach those girls instead.
Well, first and foremost, I think you have to take it back to the beginning. I never wanted to kind of pigeonhole my daughters into one path. And that starts with, where do you store your cash? At the time, I don't know if you even remember this, Russ, but one of the major questions I had when you and I first started talking about this idea of infinite banking was, I need to start putting money away for my kids' college. Like, that was literally the thing I was trying to solve. And I was heavily going to get started into the 529 plan. Well, fast forward now, my oldest has started a land business and is not pursuing college. My second oldest has bought a online content business that is now looking into Turo and is not going to pursue college. If either one of them had, if I had not put the money into our family bank and had subsequently put it in a 529 plan, neither one of those things would have happened. Neither one of those business paths would have been available to them. And so it really has kind of gone down this path of determining options for your kids. See, the money is there if they want to go to college. But in this case, we chose to start these passive or semi-passive businesses. For this, my second daughter now, we matched her investor DNA, and we told her, you have a family bank that we can use for this thing. And what happened? We pulled in her interest. Well, she loves healthy living. She loves supplements and health hacks and things along that. Like, so her first content website is a health supplement that has multiple benefits. Well, that has bought and paid for itself in 17 months. Well, that's great. That means it's like a 60 to 70% ROI on the very first thing. That's how we unlock this for our kids, is we give them options, we expose them to ideas, and then they match to their personality and their path.
Eh, If you haven't heard us talk about this before, if this is the first introduction to What's Without Wall Street, our objective is to help people who want to become financially free get there faster. And we know that there's steps to become financially free. And financial freedom is when passive income exceeds monthly expenses. So while we are using this term multimillionaire, I think we would all agree that our goal would be to teach our kids how to build cash flow that exceeds their monthly expenses so that they can truly be free. Now, multimillionaire is a fun topic. A lot of people probably clicked on this just for that alone. But the book that started this all for myself was a book called Becoming Your Own Banker by R. Nelson Nash. In one of the last chapters in the book, he talks about a different look at the monetary value of a college degree. And to your point, Joey, he says that college degrees really aren't worth a whole lot. And to be honest, most of this came out of the concept of just after World War II, where all of these GIs were coming back and the government didn't know what to do with them. So they said, well, we better put them in college, right? There's not enough jobs for all of these, young adults, young adult men. We're going to flood the job market. And there's not enough place for them, so we better put them into college. And so now that it has been instituted year after year, generation after generation, that's what has to happen. And he goes through a lot of talking about, what would be the difference of, like you said, Joey, saving for college as compared to saving inside of one of these dividend paying life insurance policies and building up cash. And he also said, like if they learn banking, which is what he really wants to teach people how to do, is put your money in a place that you can access it so you can borrow against it and buy assets or, pay off debts or whatever you may do to get you closer to financial freedom. He said, for the kid who ends up going to college, they probably end up listening to a professor who would uh, tell them that whole life insurance is not a very good idea. Right? And because of that, it will take a lot of effort to get this notion out of their head because unlearning is more difficult than learning.
Mm.
He quotes this professional Rotfield. He said he has been trained instead of learned to think. And I think that's what we're talking about today is how do we train our kids and get them to think as compared to just learning, right? Just this idea of just learning about of knowledge. So I want to like really dive deep into specifics of what maybe you're going to try to do to help your kid actually build wealth. How much passive income do you have right now? And if in 5 years you're still at the same point, what's that going to cost you? Maybe more time at a job you hate or missing moments with your family?
See, most people don't move because they don't know what to do. So they just keep doing the exact same thing.
That's why we built the Passive Income Lab. It's a 12-week program where you are guaranteed your first $500 a month in passive income.
But here's the catch. It's not open to everyone. We only let in 10 people at a time.
So the real question is, will you be one of them? Apply now at choosepassiveincome.com.
There was nothing worse than walking into class when you're in school and the teacher saying, "Pop quiz day." Why? Because you were unprepared. Are you unprepared, though, for financial freedom?
Don't be. Find out how close you are by taking our 30-second quiz at wealthwithoutwallstreet.com/quiz.
I'm going to put the onus on you, Chad, first. The goal is to get to $1 million, right? That's what we said the challenge is. So you're talking about vending. Tell me a little bit about what goes into these vending machines. How much cash flow do they have to create? How long is it going to take us to get there?
Big question to unload. We've got so I can only speak from experience, and obviously there's variables in any business. Um, I would like to mention that my key points with vending is one, we got a low barrier to entry. We can finance machines or use whatever money we have within our system to go out and make down payments and then pay it off over time. So it's a simple cash flow model. Um, obviously, to improve on results, we need to get more locations. What I'm kind of basing my assessments off of is just how I've done within my first year of vending. But I'm doing about 15K a month in total sales in year one. I'm running at about 60% margins. What I've kind of estimated is if I were to grow at 15K a year every single year, it would take me about 6 years to become a millionaire. Now, with that being said, my kid's 4, so the point of this is to do it for my kids. So, obviously, as soon as they have the capacity to learn some details of the business, for now, he can handle stocking and he can count up to 10, so he's perfect. But once he can handle the capacity to handle more, I'll start teaching more as we go.
And let's talk about that a little bit, right? So when you set up how many micro markets do you have going right now, Chad?
Yeah, currently, I've got 7, and I just got another 3 under contract.
Now, and how much revenue are you creating per market right now?
Each one is doing anywhere between 3 and 4,000 a month of total sales.
And for the person who's very unfamiliar with vending, what sort of profit margin do you have on every dollar that comes in?
I'm looking, if we take into account operators and having someone stock for you, we're looking at about 50% margins. If you're a solo dude doing this, you can probably get up to 64, 65% margins.
So on a store doing 3,000, really simple math, back a napkin math of 50% says I'm making $1,500 per, right? And 6 to 7 stores, that tells me I'm doing 8 to $9,000 a month in profit. That's a pretty good college educated, salary right there. And when you were setting up that micro market, I'm assuming that every one of those locations wanted to see your resume and where you went to college, correct?
Not a single one.
Okay, so you didn't need a college degree to do that.
Nope.
Okay. So let's talk about for the parent who's trying to teach their kids about money and helping them grow. At what age do you really think it would be viable for a child to work in the vending machine business and really have a good grasp of what's going on?
As far as the vending business goes, you do have to be mobile. I'm thinking 15 and a half or 16. I think they can grasp a lot of the concepts before that. But unfortunately, until they get a driver's license, it's going to be a little tough for
No,
them to solo go out.
I agree 100%. One, no kid in our house has ever gotten a phone before 13. I've got one turning 13 in November. I think we were going to push it to 18 on him. But I also have a 15-year-old trying to work in the vending machine business, and it's really hard for her to go stock without somebody driving her or her partner in the business who is 16 to be able to get there. So I grabbed that. Okay. All right, Colton, I want to come to you, man. Let's talk a little bit about the land flipping space. It's the same sort of question. I want to know, like, what is your path to getting there? So give me some basic math of what you think it would take, and then we'll go a little deeper.
Yeah, so mine's interesting in the sense that my kids aren't gonna have to wait until they can drive to be fully operational in my model. So
Ah.
All right,
the
tell me
cool
tell
thing
me
about
more.
yeah, the cool thing about this is with my land flipping business, I've done 29 deals in the last 2 years, and my average turn time is around 6 months. So I'm trying to turn as quickly as possible for profit, like buying and selling land. But my biggest handicap is access to cash. And so Nelson talks about it in his book all the time. Those who have the cash will find opportunities. They'll come to you. So with my kids, they've got their own banking system. They have access to cash, and all they need just so happens to be their father has some opportunities for them. So I can go to them and ask them for lending. At this point, it's going to be kind of like talking to a mirror for me. But eventually, that conversation will get a little bit more fun. But as of right now, I'm just playing some catchy country songs for them. It's like Jordan Davis and Luke Bryan, "Buy Dirt" is what's playing in my house all the time. So they're
You're
just
already brainwashing them. You're already programming them, preparing them to say yes to lending their own cash values to their dad to buy this dirt. All right. So Chad told us that, on average, somewhere between 50 to 60% profit margin. So you said you've done 29 deals. On average, what's the profit margin per deal?
So after I take in all of everything, it's probably around 50 to 70%. So when I send out all the mail and everything, but I guess being a friendly lender is is good for my kids at this point. So I'm gonna call it 50% again, just for easy math.
By the way, many of you have wondered, like Dave Ramsey says that you can earn 12%, no problem, guaranteed, no matter what the market is. Growth stock mutual funds, just set it and forget it. No issue. And we all know that that's a bunch of baloney, right? Like that doesn't exist. That does not exist. I've never seen it. I've been in the investment world for so long. But when you think about what you guys just said, you said 50%, 60%, 70%. That's crazy town. So, Colton, how long would it take somebody to get, with a little small amount of money, like you've been piling up in your kids' cash value, to get them to $1 million based upon the numbers you're working off of?
Well, I'm making them be patient to start, so I'm not even asking them for money until they're 4 years old. So once they've got about $20,000 stored up at my 50% a year model, it would take 12 years to get to 1.1 million. And so then I'll have to start talking to Joey about how to turn that into fully passive for them. It's passive for them up to that point, but it's active on my part in this
Yeah.
scenario.
Yeah, you're gonna have to start teaching them how to source some of these deals and help you with the process. Now, if you're not familiar with how to actually build these cash values we're talking about, we created a webinar and go to whatsaboutwallstreet.com/PIOS. You can actually see the whole process of how we're trying to turn active income into passive income. And there's steps along the way. And this tool of building cash value inside of one of these specifically designed insurance contracts is just one piece of it. It's not the whole thing, right? It's not the end goal. Our goal is to create cash flow that exceeds our monthly expenses. So, Stallion, coming to you, you talked about your daughter buying some of these online content websites. So, give me the math. Help me understand how long it's going to take her if she keeps on this trajectory to get to the same thing. And is it only going to be content websites, or is she going to bring in something else as well?
Yeah, so here's the deal. The very first website that she sourced, she went through the course to figure out exactly what a good deal looks like, because that's 90% of the battle, right? You like the idea, but you don't know where to look. You don't know what to look for. She did the hard work of figuring that out, and the very first one has returned 70% ROI, right? Paid for itself within 16 months. And it's pretty exciting to watch. Now, couple that with the fact she's been watching me hand over cars to a Turo operator and make on average $400 to $500 a month per vehicle. She's like, "Well, wait a minute, Dad, we got all the money back on the website. Could I then buy a couple Turo cars?" Well, that's where we're in the process of doing right now, is trying to identify two vehicles. Those ROIs are similar in about a 50 to 60% range. So we don't have the exact pathway laid because we have flexibility within our system, right? We may go down the content website path and buy more of those, or we may pivot and, like we're doing now, buying a couple of Turo cars. If we use a blended rate of like 55%, just to say maybe the first content website was out of the park, maybe some of the Turo cars don't come through. We use 55%. It's going to take roughly 9 years to have uh, create $1 million in terms of total net worth. But the bigger thing, and the thing that I think we've been talking about and we live by, is it's not so much about accumulation of $1 million. It's about how could she get 20,000 a month in passive cash flow that would then pay for her lifestyle. And that's around 11 years is when that'll be possible if we just use these same numbers and we just keep trying to use flexibility to get there.
Well, and I think what you would find too, if any of you have watched the show Undercover Billionaire with Grant Cardone, like the goal was like for him to get to $1 million was to create a business that was valued at least $1 million. And I think that that's what you guys are saying is how do you accumulate maybe businesses? Yeah, here's my strategy. Like I just think it's super easy. Most people start off like saving money in a 529 for their kid. You put 5K away, you earn say 5% over 18 years, you're going to have 140-ish thousand dollars. I'm just going to have every one of my kids start lending to your kids, right? And here's the deal. Like you guys are going to create vending, you're going to be doing your land flipping, you're going to be doing your content websites and Turo. And I'm just going to tell my kids, look, I know don't get caught up with their 50 and 70% numbers. Let them do that, but they're going to do all the work for it. Here's what I want you to do. I want you to take that 140K and I want you to start lending it to them and say, look, I'm going to give you guys good, cheap money at 20% because my kids are going to be friends with your kids, by the way. Because I always say, go find where the smart people are and people with money and hang out close to them. So they're going to take their $140,000 and they're just going to start lending it to your kids at 20%. Now, it's gonna take a little bit of time, but that 140K is gonna double in 3.8 years, right? And by 12.3 years, they're going to have their $1 million. And by 23 years, they're going to have over $10 million. And by the way, they're going to have everything you have as collateral backing up all those loans. So if you guys stop paying, they're going to go get your stuff. And then they're going to figure out a way to earn the 50, 70%. So this is my strategy. Like I'm just using your strategy, your ideas, and just packaging it in here for a banking thing. I think Nelson Nash in heaven right now is smiling down on this idea. But I hope if this was just your first time listening to us, that there's just some ideas here that are inspiring you to like what's possible, right? Like the strategy that your kid must go to college. If they do, great. I have one that's in college. She wants to be an accountant. I'm like, great. You can do the books for everybody else in our family's businesses. We're going to need a trustworthy accountant. We're all going to need that. Maybe you can get a piece of every investment deal out there for just doing the books, and who knows how fast you can, become wealthy just in that alone. But if you haven't set up one of these strategies, go to wealthwithoutwallstreet.com/PIOS. We'd love to have a game plan call with you and just strategize around what's keeping you from becoming financially free. Do you feel like there's some things that you still need to learn but haven't been able to figure out what those are? We're happy to take 45 minutes with you, help you think through those things so that way you can unlock those ideas that maybe existed all along and help you pursue financial freedom faster. Chad, Colton, Joey, thank you so much for being on the show today. Thank you for listening. Have an amazing day.
This has been the Wealth Without Wall Street podcast. Don't forget to subscribe to the show to break free of the Wall Street mindset and begin building wealth on your own terms in places you understand so that your wealth will never run dry. See you next episode.